Who are the biggest threats to knock off Spencer Lee? That's one of the most debated questions in wrestling right now as we discuss and look at the bracket for Spencer Lee. And at 57 kilograms, 125 pounds, Spencer Lee is going to have his hands full. There's no question about it. But I think there's a lot of reason for optimism as we look at Spencer Lee. So I'm going to lay out the top 3 biggest threats to Spencer Lee at the Olympic Games. Starting at number 3, Rei Higuchi of Japan. Now, I'm going to get a little bit of pushback, I know, from some of my friends here at Flow, particularly John Kozak, who is our international expert, who thinks Rei Higuchi is the #1 threat to Spencer Lee. And there's a lot of reasons to think that. This guy is a world champion. He's an Olympic silver medalist. He's got tons of accolades and tons of great wins. And the technique this guy brings to the table is really outstanding. And in the opinion of John Smith, Rei Higuchi has one of the best single legs he's ever seen. Maybe the best single leg John Smith has ever seen. This guy knows what he's talking about. This guy knows about single legs. He knows a lot about wrestling. And he says Rei Higuchi, best single leg I've ever seen. And he shoots this left-handed single leg. He's sneaky with it. It's tough to, he disguises it really well. You're not sure when it's coming. And when he gets in, he's really good at finishing. But he's not the quickest finisher in the world. And this is actually kind of why he's not a little bit higher on the list. When I watch Higuchi finish leg attacks, it takes him a little bit of time. I think that's a little bit of a vulnerability when you're facing someone like Spencer Lee, whose defense is really good, especially if you're not quick on your finishes. I think he has an opportunity to exploit that. And so he's really good with his left-handed single. I think that could give Spencer problems for sure, especially if he gets it standing. If he tries to finish it on the mat, I think Spencer could be okay. He's got a good high crotch. He's got a good gut and a lace. He's good parterre. And we're not very sure how Spencer's parterre defense is. We haven't really seen him have a lot of opportunities to defend parterre. I think he's probably really solid there. That would be my guess. But we don't know for sure because not many guys have taken Spencer Lee down in freestyle. We just don't have enough data to really say. And I think Spencer can beat Rei Higuchi. I think it's one of the top. I mean, for wrestling fans, it may be the #1 match you want to see because Higuchi is just such an exciting guy to watch wrestle. But he's my number 3. Number 2, Stphane Abakarov. This guy is a world champion in 2022. He's really fantastic, guys. And he possesses a lot of the hallmarks of the types of wrestlers that have given Spencer Lee trouble. Really, really quick. Tough to get to, uses speed and is able to down block, re-attack, find angles, and winds up scoring. And now for Abakarov, he was someone who in 2022, he beat Thomas Gilman. He beat him pretty handily. It was a really impressive win. This was in the world finals. So Thomas Gilman ran a gauntlet. He made it to the finals and then fell to Abakarov. And Abakarov is someone who's got wins over Meic. He's beaten Thomas Gilman, as I mentioned. He's beaten Nagoya of Russia. So he's really super elite. His attacks, very, very quick. He can get to the leg really quickly. And then his finishes, this is why I think he's a little more of a threat than Higuchi potentially. He's a really rapid-fire finisher. Once he gets in, there's very little deliberation. There's very little plodding through that process. He quickly finishes. He can wrestle out of upper body. He can wrestle out of a lot of different positions. He is a Russian. He doesn't represent Russia, but he represents Albania. But he's Russian, and he was trained in the Russian style of wrestling, and you can see it because he has competence in a lot of different positions. And I went back and forth on making Abakarov the #1 or the #2. I really think he's that good. And if Spencer draws him, and now Abakarov. If he draws Abakarov, it's going to be a tough matchup, no doubt about it. But #1, Stphane Meic, I think is the toughest matchup for Spencer. And now a lot of people, the Instagram people, they don't agree with me for whatever reason. They just think, oh, Stphane, but I don't know if you actually saw what Stphane did in 2023. This guy went through Nagoya, the Olympic champion and a world champion. He went through Abakarov, the reigning world champion, and he went through Higuchi, back to back to back. And he did it not with he didn't bring one piece of technique to the table and then just dominate everyone through it and just caught everyone by surprise. It was leg attacks. It was counter defense. It was crazy head pinches and chest wraps. And he's an extremely complete wrestler. And I think his he's really crafty, and he's also sneaky too in how he can get to the legs. He'll level change, and you're not really sure which way he's going, and he'll end up on your leg, and he's also a very, very adept finisher. And I think that's one aspect that could give Spencer a little trouble. And more than anything, I worry about Spencer's ability to deal with the counter offense of Stphane, because one, Stphane can really scramble, and most wrestlers can't scramble at all with Spencer Lee. It's just like you don't even enter that territory with Spencer. It's foolish. I think Stephane's going to at least be competent there. And a potential vulnerability for Spencer is, can he get countered? Can he get, chest wrapped or head pinched in one of these attacks? Can he find himself on an errant single leg and counter? These are the scenarios that are running through my head. It's my list, so that's just how I feel. That's how I'm looking at it. And I think whether it's Higuchi, Abakarov, Meic, the margin between those three, very, very narrow if they're facing each other, or Spencer Lee. So while it is in an order, I think they're all really, really close. And I'll also say, unlike 65, I think with this weight, there's some serious separation from these guys and the rest. But don't get confused. This field is incredibly deep, and there's a lot of threats here. And I'll get into some of them briefly. Zhao of China is someone who kind of blew Spencer's doors off in a couple hard leg attacks and made Spencer have to dig deep and score. He had a 10 or 12 point flurry that got him back in the match against Zhao, or he would have lost and potentially not qualified the weight for the Olympic Games. So he's tough. You've got Aman of India, who is just super physical, kind of the prototypical Indian wrestler, very physical, a lot of offense, tries to score, you're not going to get him tired. You've got Haratunian, who is a world medalist as well. You've got Roman Bravo Young of America. This is someone who, there's a lot of mystery about Roman. He hasn't wrestled a ton of senior level matches, and 57 kilograms, you're kind of wondering how he's going to function at such a light weight class. He's wrestled at 133, this is 125. How's he going to feel making that weight class? So he's a definite wild card, as is Darian Cruz of Puerto Rico, another American. And then we got Abdullayev, who was a hair away from knocking off Aguyev at the Olympic Games in 2021. So this is a really deep weight class. No matter how you slice it, Spencer is going to have his hands full. Remind you, he is unseeded, so he's going to be randomly drawn into this bracket. We don't know who he's going to face or when, but make no mistake, Spencer can win this weight, but there's going to be a lot of challenges that stand in his way.